Hello, everyone. This is Tijen Genco. I am Master Certified Coach and Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. Today is September 16, 2022, and I have beautiful Michelle Norton with me. We are going to talk about group coaching, guided meditations, and some other things may come up in between because in my methodology, I often combine things to create most effective, lasting results. And with that, welcome, Michelle. Good to have you here.
Hello.
Would
Thank
you
you.
like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Michelle Naughton. I'm a life whole person coach. I have been have had a coaching practice for about 5 years now, and more recently, I'm also sort of delving into some of these methodologies, meditation and group coaching, and so I'm happy to be here to talk about this with you today.
I am delighted that you're being my companion. So you're going to kind of direct our conversation. Where would you like to get us started?
Sure. Well, I think that the best way to start is at the beginning. And so I was hoping that you would just explain guided meditation from maybe a beginner's perspective, somebody who might not be familiar with it. What is it? And what else would you say about it?
Okay, so the guided meditation obviously can expand from the levels of the person who is offering. It's often that there is someone in guiding the meditative practice with instructions. In the most basic level, that person giving instructions about to the audience or the person that they are guiding to um, relax and take a breath and this, that, the other thing. And then the person at the recipient end do their best to follow those instructions. Sometimes people can fall asleep. Sometimes people hear what the guiding person's saying, and they may or may not be able to comply, depending on the state of their nervous system and the guiding person's capacity to lead them into the deeper levels of themselves. And that will be the best, most basic way of I can explain. Yet in the more advanced levels, that's what I like to take people into. The guidance then gets in to the level that really supports the recipient person to fall into the deeper levels of their self, the more relaxed level of the self, other than the guiding person saying just relax. Because if we were able to hear the word just relax and relax, we wouldn't need anybody to guide us. We could just tell ourselves relax and we'll be relaxed. And or take a deep breath. That doesn't mean anything. What is a deep breath? How do you take it? And I frequently see people are saying to take a deep breath and the shallow breath further deep, getting in expanded in the higher levels of the chest. So the more experienced the person is that is guiding, that then the person who is experiencing can go into different places. And then also the images that are used can be more effective or less effective and all that. So how clear do you find that explanation?
Well, it makes sense to me. And I think about my own experience, whereas sometimes I can be with myself and meditate, and sometimes it's really helpful to have somebody guide me to kind of clear out some of those thoughts and have something to focus on. And then, sometimes that's at least a place to start. Um, and then also I've experienced, some of the deeper meditations to be able that you've offered to really be able to go beyond just, again, that relaxation. There's a lot more to it than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think my next question is around that. What would you say is the purpose or the benefits of guided meditation, and especially as guided meditation on the level of work that you do when you lead them?
Yeah, thank you. So my intent with this is being a meditation practitioner close to 30 years and teaching meditations over 20 years, as well as being a trained coach in the human consciousness, to support the recipient persons into the deeper levels of brain waves as they are. There are 5 levels of brain waves, and delta and theta levels known to be that where the cell regeneration occurs, the consciousness softens and becomes more available to receiving new levels of suggestions. That it is not necessarily guided meditations are hypnosis. That in the hypnosis, that the person who is facilitating the hypnosis that directs and overrides the person's consciousness. In guided meditation, there is an offering for persons to be able to make a different choice in the thought patterning via the specifically selected images as I do, specifically selected sounds as I do, and so that they can free themselves those sticky thought patterns that otherwise becomes very challenging to do in the regular states of consciousness and the brain waves like alpha and beta. So in the way I do, I use, as I mentioned, that very selectively choose my words. I've been listening to human beings a long time, and I am also a highly sensitive being that I know what kind of words land, how late each word lands on people. And so very selectively choose the words, very selectively choose the sounds, very selectively pace my speech and use my voice as another musical instrument in a way to speak and inflict in my words to support the receiving, support the relaxation. So there is a lot involved in the way I do it. Those often supports the people, as well as the journeys I take, that I'm also trained in dreaming methodologies via Carl Jung, as well as indigenous methods. So I also understand how to guide people into the more lucid form of consciousness, where the new choices become more available to download into the new, more ordinary levels of consciousness. Just gonna stop there and see how they are resonating with you.
Wow. Yes. Wow. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think about that too, the voice as an instrument, the music. I know you often have other I don't know, tools and resources that you use in your meditations. And so I'm just thinking, yeah, there's such an intentional way of bringing that all together in a guided meditation to allow for the best experience for the person that's having this meditation. I think I just like to also just open it up for you to mention some of the other things that you use with your guided meditations and maybe what they bring to the recipe.
Yeah, thank you. I use different sound instruments such as singing bowls, tuning forks, tingsha bells, And sometimes I do use my harp too, because I manage a lot of different things. It's harder for me to sometimes leave the microphone, go there, come back, and all that. But along with the energy healing that I script meditation, but I'm also sensing my audience as a highly sensitive being and also energy Reiki master practitioner. And as I feel the audience may need further support, I send energy healing in during that as well. So in a way, then in my meditations, I'm using instruments, a lot of instruments that there are selectively selected music list, the other tonal instruments to create impact on like Genco method, peacefulness with Tijen Genco. As I am guiding people to different parts of themselves, that in each organ system has a different sound that can be used to support, to restore. So then I'm using frequencies of those tingsha bells or the singing bowls to remind the organs and tune the organs as I am using the guided words. So that as I invite people to their respiratory system, I'm using the sounds to further support. And I also recommend people to use, if I am not with them in a physical environment, use the essential oils that are supportive into the journey that I'm going to guide them to, because they are also offering frequencies to the nervous system. So these are some of the instruments that I use. Would you like to speak more to your experiences on those with me? Or otherwise, yeah.
Well, that's a kind of where I was planning to ask you, but I think what it sounds like, and what that there's so much that goes into even creating a guided meditation for an individual or for a group. Then as a participant or somebody experiencing that, you don't really have to know all that. You don't really have to think about all that. You kind of just show up and experience, and be as open as you can. Although, all of us have our times and days where that's not really how we come to things. And so what you do, my experience has been that what you do will help you sort of overcome that on the way kind of into the experience. So it's interesting. I know sometimes I hear or I experience that I don't really, my analytical brain will want to think about it, but if I don't let it and just sort of stay in the experience, what I know is that you can really have a very positive, very helpful healing experience in a guided meditation, and come out on the other side with a lot to sort of process and think about. So yeah, that's kind of what I guess what I was sort of thinking. Is there anything you might add to that as far as what the experience for the participant is either intended to be, or maybe some of your experience with people who've experienced your guided meditations?
I get feedback as often that it was profound for them. I don't think they even compare with what I'm offering with the other ones that they may have experienced. And it has lasting effect that, as you know, when I finish the meditation right in the beginning, I tell people, if you feel like coming back, follow my instructions to come back. And if you don't feel like coming back, stay in that state and you come back later. So I get emails a few hours later. People are saying, I'm just coming back. It was amazing and all that stuff, because we're affecting the obviously, human body as we know it, this is the most physical experiential part, but there are also known to be subtle parts, that there are layers of the parts. So as I work on every subtlety, every part of the human energetic anatomy, not only the physical anatomy, that all that shifts, then the extensive part of the energetic system needs to take time to trickle in. So that kinds of experiences may take a while, and the integration phase can take a few days or even more for people to get there. So if you wanted to share some of your comparative thoughts about your experiences, maybe that will be helpful for the audience as well.
Sure. Well, and as you were talking about that, it got me thinking about the scientific research on meditation and the things that are, being proven now through science about the effects of meditation. And I usually go first with the physical, just a check in with how do you feel after versus how you felt before is significant, relaxed, calm, happy. There can be a lot of changes in just the physical nature of how you're feeling. And then through the experience, there are a lot of times insights or just sometimes questions like what was I what happened there. Sometimes it comes in all different ways, whether it's information or colors or pictures or memories, or it can be all kinds of those things. And then usually there is sort of this integration phase after that I didn't always understand or take time for, that it's like a more fuller, I guess integration is the word that captures it, of the experience, and the wisdom that comes along with what you've when you start to sort of put together what happened and how things are and how things might change, like you talked about changing, making a different choice, sort of leaving old patterns behind and that sort of thing. So there can really be a lot that happens during, and then some things to kind of continue on with afterwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot. It's like, how do you explain that all very succinctly? So I'm not sure how well I did that.
Well, you did very well. Is there anything that maybe if you compare your experiences of guided meditation in my methodology versus the otherwise that you may want to share?
I think that one of the things that makes your guided meditation stand out, or sort of vividness of the experience, and the just the very, I don't know, vivid is one of the better words, I think, for how it's experienced when you're guiding us to a place or a meeting or some kind of thing, whether we're meeting our higher selves or our little self, our younger selves, or sort of thing. It's a very vivid experience. And I've had other guided meditation experiences where it was maybe not as vivid. So, I've definitely had other good guided meditation experiences. I think some of the ones I've done are a lot more from a scientific perspective. So it's a very methodical, like science-based approach. So for me, I like both. I also feel like, because of my very sort of scientific approach to so many things, it's good to open that up and have a freer, less structured experience. And when I've allowed myself to do that, it's been really impactful. So I'm sure there's more, but I'll leave it at that.
I just want to add that I think your language about scientific versus unstructured, the unstructured is also can be scientific, right?
Mhm.
Braden and others are talking about that. So um, I think what you were more referring to, more analytical and more, I think that's the word, the structured way of approaching versus
Mhm.
invitation to the realms of lucidness is still scientific,
Mhm.
yet a different approach that I use.
Agreed. Agreed. And I think even like some of those experiences I've had, there's been sort of scientific language in the guided imagery
Yeah.
sort of thing. So that is really, I think, the difference. Whereas, yes, I agree. I mean, it's the same. It's same scientifically proven techniques, just a different perspective on it, and how much just again more vivid and can be just um, more open, I think. Like sometimes a different guided meditation might lead you in more of a direction, whereas this leaves an open, some of the ones I've done with you have left just a more open situation so that anything that I might be wanting to,
Mhm.
my subconscious might be wanting to work on comes through. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. That's the coach-like approach, right? I don't again
Mm-hmm.
decide for the recipient, but lead them in a place of new choices and new possibilities for them to choose. Yeah. Mhm.
Hmm. So I think with that, the other one of the other questions I had for you was what um, how does that sort of come up? Like when you offer a guided meditation, is there like a general topic or how do people come to your guided meditations and then have like what they want to focus on? How does that
Mhm.
develop or
Yeah, as a coach, I often see the common themes that come to the sessions. So based on that, I create my imagery to help what is current in the environment, what I'm keep repeatedly getting. Some weeks it's amazing that I get like client after client, they're all working through the same thing. It's like maybe the universal stars are like, here we go. It's the time to do this, time to do that. I don't know how that works. So, and sometimes it's my inspiration that I get through my things and then I feel like I need to help people with this. So it's different when I am offering themed guided meditation to the public. And individually, I may suggest as a coach to see how the client may feel when there is a sticky point that the consciousness or the fears are not allowing client to progress. Then I create individual things for them that, or sometimes they come up and say, this is my sticky area, or I am having this issue. Can you help me with that? So those all are possibilities.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's sort of exciting that there's yet another tool as a, you know, as a coach or as a coaching client, if you're feeling a little stuck or there's something that just is a little bit more difficult to go to sort of get beyond, that this is a tool that can be used to
Absolutely. Yeah, and I time to time I teach utilization of guided meditation as part of the coaching practice. It's not always in my upcoming events calendars, but people
Mhm.
can subscribe to there. We'll put the link in the description to see when I'm offering so that the um, coaches can understand how to do this better. Often coach educations include that in their practicum here and there,
Mhm.
But what I see as a mentor, it's so basic to tell people, okay, take a deep breath and relax and do this. Honestly, I would have been annoyed if I wasn't a client. Somebody is telling me I come to coaching session and take a deep breath and relax. I wouldn't like that. But so the way I teach is the method, that deepened method I was talking about. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, very good to know.
Mhm.
Definitely on the coach's side, I have had that experience where it was a little bit of tiny bit of my training, and then just knowing how um, effective and how what a great gift it can be. There's definitely some interest in
Mhm.
developing that. So, all right. Well, we've talked quite a bit about guided meditation. And I want to sort of connect to the group coaching perspective. Is there anything else about guided meditation that you'd like to mention before we talk a little bit more about group coaching?
I think that explains, I mean, we shared the distinctions and approaches and how I do this. Yeah, that should cover.
Okay.
Anything else
Yeah.
you wanted to say?
Not that I can think of, but I have a feeling it might connect back as we start into kind of the group coaching.
Yeah.
So, um, what would you like to say as kind of a basic understanding of what group coaching is and maybe some of the benefits of it, either in addition to or compared to individual coaching?
They both have benefits in different ways. What I see is that, especially depending again who is doing the facilitating the group coaching, that person's capacity, uh, as a skillful meditation person that does a lot of work of the self, I have pretty good skills to harmonize groups.
Hmm.
So, therefore, what happens in group coaching, whether it's in my environment or somewhere else, there is a support unity consciousness occurs, then the people actually feel supported and belonging through whatever they are bringing into the sessions, whether it's a group of people or team that works in the corporate environment, doesn't matter. So in that setting, collectiveness and learning from one another, normalizing each other's pain, each other's struggle, because, oh, this person too, like me, having this. And also learning from one another's experience. And every time that you invite someone else to speak in the group as a coach facilitator, wherever they are bringing themselves to is also helping other observers to get there.
Mm.
So there is in a way, collective progression. So these are some benefits that people get to experience from group coaching, that feeling a part of something, belonging, feeling more normal about what they're experiencing, feeling compassion for another human being having similar thing that helps the persons to feel self-compassion sometimes when that's not available. Receiving the healing collectively, and maybe even connecting to people that are part of the group, further support in that way. And as it comes to the individual coaching, there is a much more intimacy with the coach, much more support and much more personal attention. And maybe some things aren't going to be easier to share in a group environment.
Mm.
One can be coached, as you know, without sharing the details in the group environment, but verbalization of whatever those are in a private setting has its own merits and own healing capacity. So that's what I would say. Anything that you wish to add from your experiences?
I mean, that's definitely been my experience too. I have been amazed at the group dynamic, the uh, the way, yeah, where things can be shared, not at a level of detail, and yet the the insight and the sort of understanding can still be gained. I've noticed the way the group, you start and we're strangers, and it doesn't take long before, right, someone else is sharing something that brings something up in me. I feel that connection to that person. I feel that um, a normalization of that sort of thing that's going on. And then pretty soon the rest of the group seems to be connecting in place too. So that's been my experience. I don't think it's definitely not an either or situation, like which one is better. I think that they're very complementary, and that as a coaching client, having those opportunities to choose when the time is right for either one of those um, is, a way of, my own customized journey, which is how I like it.
Yeah.
My own customization, not necessarily being like put into a mold. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention is also inspiration. That I think in my settings, at least, I find that people get to be inspired from one another, and they start to call each other these beautiful names,
Mm,
and the group a beautiful bonding. So that's another thing that I see happens.
yes. And then I was also thinking that in some of the group coaching that I've participated in, sometimes you open it up with a meditation or
Mhm.
guided meditation. And so I would love to have you sort of talk about why do you do that? And
Mhm.
what does that bring to the group coaching?
Yeah, that's part of my methodology, and as a coach, and the also before I was a coach, I was a certified mastery level process and service excellence person. I look at this, how to make things easier for my clients, and starting the session, often that when I'm doing group coaching, that's the distinction between the teams versus groups, because the groups are individuals that don't have the one common thing. So when I'm doing group coaching, I create that common theme, common thing for them to come together with. And so starting them on an easier ground will be supportive of them. Therefore, I create a special guided meditation around the common theme to use the back door around their resistant patterns. As I see as a coach, over the years, I have a lot of cumulative knowledge about how people can sabotage themselves and what fears can come in a way. So I create these meditations to start them in a softer ground into the coaching, so that the output of the coaching would be much larger impact and much more lasting impact. So anything that you wish to add to that?
I think what I would add to that is that I think that it also, to me, seems like it connects the group, to be even more cohesive, just right out of the right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So that that sort of bonding experience sort of starts to happen during that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I forgot mentioning that. That was the other
Mhm.
intention, that creates cohesion.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting how all that can be happening all at the same time. So then, this is, yeah, just a very interesting sort of combination. And I know you use these in different ways of in your methodology. What would you say about somebody who might be looking at this saying, well, I'm not really very experienced in either one. What could I expect from group coaching and guided meditation?
And they don't need to be experienced in anything, right? That's why I am there. They just need to relax and enjoy the journey. And so just to make sure they are relaxed and enjoying the journey, I combine these things together to create further efficiency. And the only thing that I say to people that they may be interested and experienced or unexperienced in either one, their willingness to change and their capacity to allow themselves to change, and their capacity to see their guardians within inside, that the gatekeepers. And so that the more they bring the gatekeepers into the conversation, then we can have be inclusive of those and understand them better. So the idea, then only thing then is required, their commitment that yes, I can be and I am a skillful person that offers meditations and coaching, but I cannot make anybody change. I can guide their journey, be by their sides, creating them supportive environments. So all they need is time commitment, and time commitment is important because change requires time and space. And this is why that after meditation, after guided group coaching, people need some time to digest and integrate and give themselves time to change. So those will be key for anybody considering these type of sessions towards their desired state, I would say.
Yes. Yes, and I think that, just as you've explained that, you sort of allude back to the coaching process. So someone can be a part of a group coaching and or guided meditation. They can be ready to address, what might be considered this much, and what they're ready for is what it is. They don't have to worry about being swept away into more than they can handle or more than they were ready to address. It's a very participant kind of / client-led process. Nobody's forcing anybody to do anything or pulling anybody along. It's what you're ready for. And when you're ready for something, when you've got that commitment and willingness, then you'll go as far as you're ready to go. And you might be ready to go farther. And one of the things I also note about your experiences is that when you are ready to go farther, a lot of what you might, I don't know, progress is the best word, can be made in a relatively short amount of time. So you talked a little bit about efficiency, and just all of the intention that goes around these techniques are meant to, while things take time, what you do is try to sort of curate it into a efficient way of not taking, more than is necessary, at least on that part of it. So
yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I did mention before that inspiration. I think that also speaks to that as you said, somebody may be coming to their wanting to change this much, and when they see others are doing quantum leaps, then they get inspired. Oh, I want to do that too, and then they give themselves a permission. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, thank you. Yes. All right. Well, we've kind of dived into the guided meditation. We've dived into the group coaching. Anything else about either one, and what makes the Genco method sort of different or stand out?
Yeah, I think that in my methodology in the group coaching, I have 23 years of corporate experience and training, facilitating teams and groups, and a whole bunch of special trainings on that, on top of master's degree in organizational behavior and coaching. So I'm coming to this with that level of experience, as well as being a highly sensitive person listening to human beings for a long time. And so my methodology carries all those sensitivities and the training all at once, and creating cohesion, as you said, right off the bat with meditations or using my own energies and other things. So when you are coaching at a group, your listening as a coach needs to be elevated, cumulative, that you need to hear and understand what's said, what's not said, everybody's participation, and knowing to who to call, who to have a dialogue with in the group next, sensing that that requires additional non-mechanical way of approaching to this. And my deepening practices that I often offer in between the sessions based on what's surfacing, how to progress the group to the next level. And so those are some of the special things that I offer in my methodology. Anything that you may wish to add or share on that?
Oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought to talk about those deepening practices. They are just, yeah, a way to kind of continue on between the sessions, do that deep internal dive. I've always appreciated that generally you're able to hand them in and then you'll look at them. You'll provide some individualized feedback about them. That's, you know, added value at a minimum, added insight, etc. And there is also, you know, those little opportunities to check in and say, you know, or provide you with an aha moment or something like that, that you're always happy to share with us. So I really like that part too. All right. So I think we're at the point where people might just be curious enough to say, okay, so how can I experience this with Tijen? What have you got going on? And if there's nothing else, I don't want to cut it short, but otherwise, yes, what's going on and how can people experience this with you?
Thank you for that. Yeah, I often post these into under Genco coaching upcoming events that I don't regularly offer them. So as mentioned, we're recording this in September 16, 2022. After such a long time, after 3 years, I will be offering in-person event at the Bradenton Beach as a retreat. I especially crafted that includes the daily guided meditation, group coaching, deepening practices, and optional yoga movements towards what comes up during the day. And this is the content for that is defining and enabling next version of themselves. So the people wanting to download, upgrade themselves to the next version, or define what it is after life changes or after a stagnation, or just even figuring out what current version is look like, right? We just live our lives. We don't necessarily look at how our operating system functions and what apps are on it. And so that's going to be starting in October 30th for 6 days of complete overhaul, or maybe this might change depending on the person's choices. And the place is also especially relaxing and healing, that very beautiful place by the beach. So that's coming up. And then if that's not available for their people's timing, then they can subscribe to gencocoaching.com to be informed about the upcoming events. And thank you for asking that. And I know you have something coming up. Would you like to share more information?
Sure, thank you. I have a mind body skills group coming up starting the end of September. It's an online skills group where we'll have a small group situation and we'll be learning some evidence-based, scientifically proven techniques for self-care and trauma healing and resilience. So things like the guided meditation we talked about, there'll be some breathing techniques, there'll be some other fun and interesting ways of helping your nervous system relax and healing. So that is starting, like I said, the end of September. You can find out more about that by going to fletchinsight.com. That's FLECHE insight.com, or contacting me, Shelly, SHELLY, at fletchinsight.com.
Thank you for that. And that I'm sure that will be exciting and wonderful for people to attend.
Thank you.
I want to also mention that if people are interested finding out or experiencing my guided meditations, that they can stream 2 of my recordings available through wherever they are streaming the music, or get it downloaded. Peacefulness with Tijen Genco is one of them that has multiple guided meditations in that, or Chakra Symphony of the Heart that invites people towards heart-based living. And anybody has also somatic challenges such as heart disease, breast cancer experiences, respiratory system challenges, whatever the organs that are in the heart center, they may also find that guided meditation helpful. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Well, is there anything else we should talk about today before we wrap up this conversation?
I think we're done enough for today. Thank you for being my partner.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, we hope to certainly host our viewers at some of our events. And thank you for watching us for today.
Thank you.